Multiply polynomials. To multiply a polynomial by a monomial, use the distributive property and then use the properties of exponents. So we're going to do some examples. We're going to multiply the monomial negative x cubed times the polynomial 9x to the fourth minus 2x cubed plus 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute right here. Because I'm multiplying, I need to just multiply by everything in there. So I'm going to have negative x cubed times 9x to the fourth plus negative x cubed times negative 2x cubed plus a negative x cubed times 7. Alright, so if I were to simplify this and write it out, what I'm going to have is negative 9, takes care of the negative and the 9, and then I have x cubed and x to the fourth. So I add the exponents, x to the seventh, plus negative 2, so that's going to make it a positive 2. And then my x's, there's 3, 6. X to the 6th when I add them together. Plus, a negative 1 times 7 is a negative 7, x cubed. So my final answer, I would write negative 9x to the 7th plus 2x to the 6th minus 7x cubed. Final answer. For this next example, we're going to again multiply the monomial 5n times the polynomial 3n cubed minus n squared plus 8. So I distribute right here to everything. So I have 5n times 3n cubed minus 5n times n squared plus 5n times 8 when you multiply around. So then I have 5 times 3 is 15, and then I have n to the first power, n cubed, negative 5, n to the first power, n squared, and 5 times 8 is 40, n. So when I simplify this, I have 15, and then there are 4 n's, so n to the fourth power, are all multiplied together, minus 5, 3 n's multiplied together, n cubed plus 40n. And that is your final answer. To factor out a monomial, we need to find the greatest common factor and then pull that outside the parentheses. We can kind of think of this as reverse distribution. So the first thing we want to look for is what do they have in common? What do all of these parts have in common? So I can divide everything by a 4 if I want to, because 4 divided by 4 is even, 24 divided by 4 is an even number, and 8 divided by 4 is an integer number. So I can divide by 4. Also, what else do they have in common? I see an x to the fifth, an x to the third, and an x. So they all have an x in common. So I'm going to divide everything by 4x. So my next step would be to write 4x to the fifth, and I'm dividing out a 4x. The reason I'm dividing is because the opposite of multiply is divide. So I have to divide. So minus 24x cubed divided by 4x plus 8x divided by 4x. And now I'm just going to simplify. So I'm factoring out the 4x. So I write 4x outside of the parentheses. And then inside I'm going to simplify. So I cancel out my 4's. And I'm going to simplify my x's. So 1x is going to cancel out here, 1x is going to cancel out here, leaving me with 4x's on top. So I just have x to the 4th. The next part, minus, simplify here, 24 divided by 4 is 6, and then my x cubed is going to cancel out with one of the x's there, leaving me with 2 x's on top, so I have 6x squared, plus my last one, my 8 is going to cancel out with my 4, leaving me with 2 on top, and my x's are going to cancel out, leaving me with just 1. So I have plus 2, and that is your final answer. Okay, this next example, we're going to do this similar thing. So I'm going to look for what they all have in common. So it looks to me like I can divide everything by 5. So that means they have a 5 in common. What else do they have in common? I see an x, an x, an x. They all have an x in common. So that means that your GCF, greatest common factor, is 5 times x. Okay, so that is what I'm going to divide everything by. So I'm going to take 5x cubed over 5x plus a negative 25x squared over 5x plus 45x over 5x. So I'm just going to divide. Instead of multiplying, I'm going to divide everything. So what I get would be I would cancel out my 5's here. Oh, I'm pulling my 5x out. That's the whole idea. So I canceled out my 5's. And then I cancel out an x with one of these x's, leaving me with just x squared on top. So I have x squared. Next part is I'm going to cancel out this 5 with this 25. 25 divided by 5 is 5. So that gives me negative 5. And then one of these x's is going to cancel out. Negative 5x. Finally, here my 45 divided by 5 is 9, and then my x's cancel out, leaving me with plus 9. So that is your final answer. So those are your notes over multiplying polynomials. Go through your practice problems. Make sure you can do these. Make sure you watch the second video. It goes over some more complicated examples that might also be on the quiz. And then you can take your quiz over this material.